Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. Every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. Download the Wendy's app today.
It is time again, 3 o'clock hour, as we broadcast live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, out here at the Wisconsin State Fair, right by the entrance to the Expo building across from the Milk House. Come on out, say hi. Love to see you all out here. See Sparky Fifer with you. Tommy Wirtz will be out here from 5 until 6, getting ready for Brewers baseball with the leadoff show, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Before every Brewers game, 1 hour before, you will get the best Brewers coverage you're going to find on the radio from 1 hour before every game. So definitely want to get out here, check that out. Don't forget, you can stream us live on the Odyssey app. If you're looking for shows that you missed, the podcast form, we're on the iHeart app. We're on the Odyssey app. We're on TuneIn. We're on Spotify. Wherever you go, you will find us. Apple, you will find us wherever you are looking for your favorite podcast at. And then, of course, on YouTube. That's right. You can watch all your favorite local shows here on The Fan on YouTube. We put shorts up. We put videos up. Check out The Fan Milwaukee. Like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff on YouTube. Again, search The Fan Milwaukee on YouTube. The Pack-A-Day Radio Show, weekday mornings 8 to 9. The Mason Crosby Show, the Packers' all-time leading scorer, does a show from 9 to 11. And then this show from 2 until 5, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. We're going to talk with Bruce Murray coming up here. At about 3:15, he'll join us from Sirius XM NFL Radio. Sirius XM Blitz weekday afternoons host. Him and John Kuhn were at Packers training camp practice earlier today, so we'll check in with him. Charlie Sounds of the Day comes up at 3:40. Let's talk a little bit about what our guy Matt LaFleur had to say earlier today at Packers training camp. First off, let's talk about Corey Ballantyne, the Packers cornerback that got released. He is back with the Green Bay Packers, back at practice today. Let's hear what Matt LaFleur had to say about Ballantyne.
Yeah, a guy that's got experience and knows our system, not only on defense but on defense, and so really excited to see him.
You know, the one thing about Ballantyne that you like a lot, obviously, is the experience that he brings to this defense and kind of knowing where he's supposed to be, knowing the cornerback room already, and having played with Keyshawn Nixon and these guys. It's a huge add at a cheap salary, getting him back and getting him a part of this defense, especially when you start talking about putting him in a cornerback's room, watching film and stuff like that, because he's been around the game a little bit. No, he's not Charles Woodson or Tremont Williams or nothing like that, but it still is a valuable asset for him to be back in that cornerback room. Another guy brought up was our guy, Lucas Van Ness, who the Packers have decided to put all their eggs into his basket as far as how this pass rush apparently is going to get better. It's going to come with Lucas Van Ness having to take a giant leap forward production-wise. This is what LaFleur had to say about Van Ness.
I think it all starts with the mentality of those guys, and just, you can't – I think Luke always wants to be perfect, and this is an imperfect game, and sometimes you just got to go. And I think he's starting to learn that, obviously. He was a young player when we drafted him, and he's getting more reps, and I think he's doing a really good job with that. So he's another guy that just looking forward to see how he progresses as the season goes along.
You know, the other part about this whole deal about putting all the eggs in the basket of Lucas Van Ness is, if this doesn't work out and if you can't figure out how to get to the quarterback, that means there's more pressure on your secondary to play games and come up with turnovers and do that type of stuff. Omar Brown is a guy that stood out at family night with 3 interceptions from the safety position, and Matt LaFleur talked about him.
I think he's done a great job. I really do. He's been really consistent, and he continues to maximize his opportunities. And when you do that, you get noticed, and then ultimately you get more ops. So he's another guy that, amongst many guys, that we're looking forward to see how he competes when we get into some of these games.
I want to hear his thoughts on Jordan Love And how much does he plan on playing Jordan Love, whether it be this Saturday, whether it be in the exhibition season? Because Packers play the Jets in their first game coming up on Saturday night. What does Matt think about that?
We'll see. However I'm feeling
Good
in
answer.
the moment. I just told all these guys, just get ready to play football. Whenever we're ready to pull you, we'll pull you.
Boy, thanks, Matt. Thanks for the insight. I don't know how we do our radio show without your wonderful insight. We'll see. Meaning, I'm not telling you anything. Don't bother even asking going forward. If you were guessing, Charlie, how much do you think Jordan Love and the first-string offense plays in this first game Saturday night against the Jets? Do you think they see the field?
No, I don't think they see the field in this first game. I expect them to play in the second two games, but not in the first game.
Do you know what I've noticed a trend of?
What's that?
Maybe it's collusion among the owners. You know what I've seen a trend of? I've seen a trend of a lot of coaches talking about how their regulars are going to play more in the exhibition season than they've played them in the past, right? So if that holds true, I would expect Jordan Love and these guys to play maybe a series in the game against the Jets coming up on Saturday night. Maybe they get one drive to go out there and get their feet wet, and then after that you see Malik Willis come in. And as far as Matthew Golden goes, I realize that he is your first-round draft pick, but if I'm the Packers, Matthew Golden stays on the field with Jordan Love, and he stays on the field with Malik Willis, and he doesn't come off the field until Malik Willis comes off the field himself. He is not, again, my take, I don't know what LaFleur's going to do. I'm not pulling him when Jordan Love comes off the field. I think Matthew Golden and Savion Williams, the other wide receiver they took in the third round, both those guys need a lot of reps, I think, this preseason.
I think if you have that mindset with a Matthew Golden, then you also have to probably expect him to not play in one of the games. That would be how I would go about it if I was running this team and wanted Matthew Golden to stay healthy. I mean, you drafted a wide receiver in the first round in forever because you felt like you needed that type of game changer to add into that wide receiver room. And I understand you want him to get as many reps as possible, especially with a Malik Willis early on, just in case a Jordan Love gets hurt again. He got hurt twice last season, and we saw Malik Willis have to go into those games and be a productive piece of that offense. I think if you want him to get better, yes, you keep him in for the first couple of series through this first game, but I think maybe in that second or third game you give him a break and you don't play him.
I want to give some injury updates here. Quay Walker, a guy that the Packers seemingly figured out how to use, and then he got hurt last year, and he has been easing himself back into the flow of things for the Green Bay Packers after being banged up throughout the offseason. What's the latest on Quay?
Is Quay getting close to doing 11 on 11?
Yeah, he should be limited today. No.
What do you mean? What's going to mean to get him back out there to start building on his experience last year at that position?
Yeah, well, he is the quarterback of the defense. So anytime you're missing that piece, that's a big piece. Not that we don't feel like we have other guys capable of doing that. We certainly feel good about that, and I think those guys have done a nice job. But we know what type of player Quay is and the level that he can play at. And I thought there was a stretch last season where he was playing some really good football. He was getting more comfortable within our scheme, what we were asking him to do, and he was playing at a high level. So it's been a while since he's played football, so he needs to get back ingrained into that. And obviously, the more reps he gets, the more comfortable I think he'll feel, and the better he'll play.
It's interesting because you're going to be in a situation here with Matt LaFleur where you could pick and choose, I think, who you want to slow play coming back from injury and who you may want to push a little bit to get back a little bit sooner to get them as many reps as possible. And then there is Marshawn Lloyd. And I just shake my head at this dude, right? Because Quay Walker, you want to slow play. You want to have him back, be ready for week 1 against the Detroit Lions, and then let him go play and see what happens. Marshawn Lloyd, realistically, you'd want to push a little bit harder because he's lacking reps because he couldn't stay on the field last year because he was hurt. He had appendicitis. He's supposed to be your second or third running back after you drafted him last year, and maybe the heir apparent to Josh Jacobs if he ever can stay on the field. That's now a pipe dream right now because he keeps getting hurt. But from the perspective of wanting to push him, you do, but he's so fragile, you can't push him, Charlie. You kind of got to slow play him like you would a veteran that has a lot of experience at this point.
I think so. I think at this point, what we've seen happen with just the unluckiness of his career up to this point, I think you kind of have to baby him a little bit in order just to get him on the field and see what you have in a player like that. Because until then, you won't really know. And I think if you let it go for 3 years of just him constantly getting injured, him constantly not really being a part of this team because he can't stay on the field, then you end up with situations like a J.K. Dobbins in Baltimore, where he just kind of gets slowly phased out, not by his fault, but because it's just he's not there.
He is not there at this point, and we'll see how much longer it takes for him to get there. Coming up next, Bruce Murray will join us. Looking forward to time. Bruce Murray, host of Sirius XM Blitz weekday afternoons on the Sirius XM NFL radio channel. He was with John Kuhn today doing his radio show from Packers training camp. That is straight ahead. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM at 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook, out here at the Wisconsin State Fair, right by the Expo Building entrance, looking at the Milk House. Don't forget, stream us on the Odyssey app. Watch us on YouTube at The Fan Milwaukee on YouTube. Search The Fan Milwaukee on YouTube. Like, subscribe, share, all those fun things. Time now for your fan weather forecast. Right now, 81 degrees at the fair. Air quality alert extended yet again till tomorrow at noon. Low tonight of 64. Welcome back. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin State Fair right here by the Expo Building, looking at the Milk House. I'm telling y'all, go get yourself some of that root beer milk. Joining us now on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. You can, of course, check him out weekday afternoons with Sirius XM Blitz on the Sirius XM NFL radio channel. He is Bruce Murray. Bruce, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Happy to be here. How you doing?
Doing really well. So you and John Kuhn were up there at Packers training camp practice, and you're obviously going around the National Football League, checking out the different sites and practices. Your thoughts on how Green Bay does their training camp practices with the fans and all of that?
Well, I think it's by far the most interesting place to visit. It's so intimate with the fans. You know, the Hudson Center and the little field that's behind it, and, you know, obviously all the fans coming in with the bicycles. It's just different than any other place, and it's different also because of the venue that they play in, which is right across the street. You know, they're all different, and they're all somewhat unique, And I apologize for the road traffic because I'm waiting for an Uber to go to Minnesota so we can do the Vikings tomorrow. But it's such a great, intimate environment, and it's just fun to come here every year.
Don't worry, I'm at the Wisconsin State Fair with bands blaring in my ears, so I can't even hear any traffic on your side. I'm just trying to make you out. Okay, so let's talk about Jordan Love. Your thoughts on him? I mean, we've seen him at family night this last weekend. Now, maybe not. We'll get to see him against the Jets coming up this weekend. I think people are looking for improvement from Jordan Love. And earlier in the camp, that deep ball was looking awfully pretty from Jordan Love. Didn't look as good at family night. How did it look today?
Well, practice was actually, I don't want to say a little slow today. It does seem like we're getting to that time in camp where it's becoming the grind. I think, what is this, day 11 or day 12 and, 8th day in pads. A little sluggish at times, and I think that may have been a little frustrating to the head coach. But, we sat with Love for a while, and, he recognizes what's at stake. He recognizes the expectations. I think more importantly than the physical traits that he has, because we know he throws the football well, is he talked about where he is with the mental part of the game and how comfortable he is now at the line of scrimmage and how the game is slowing down. I think people think, all right, you're in year 5, you must be there already. You're not. It always gets better in that part of the game. And I think as that improves, when the game does pick up, when you're playing the really good football teams, you're better prepared to handle some of the critical situations. I think that's where you're going to see the most improvement from Jordan Love this year.
When you talk about this division, Bruce, and you talk about the coaches at the other spots and what each are dealing with, Detroit, they lose their coordinators. Minnesota's playing with an inexperienced quarterback in McCarthy. Obviously, we know about Ben Johnson being a wizard offensively, but Caleb Williams struggles early on. You assume those will get worked out. This coaching staff probably is in the best position right now of the other coaching staffs in the league.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, look, listen, we know what Detroit's going through, obviously, as they transition out of 2 coordinators. Now, Philadelphia went through that, didn't seem to get in their way of success. But, Hackett's part of this team now with a different perspective, coaching as a defensive assistant. You've got continuity on the offensive side of the football. I think they're in great shape. I mean, this roster did not take a lot of hits in the offseason. I think they were subtle in their additions, obviously, with Hobbs, who's going to deal with the injury until the start of the regular season. But the offensive line is going to be better. I think there's a lot of depth up front. I think this team, both from a coaching standpoint and a player standpoint, is well positioned to improve on last year, which, as you said, they got to get better because they didn't beat great football teams last year.
SiriusXM NFL Radio's Bruce Murray. He was at Packers camp earlier today, and he's hosting the Green Bay episode of the channel's NFL Camp Tour Series. You can hear that show, which Bruce hosts along with former Packers fullback John Kuhn, on demand on the SiriusXM app. And you can hear Bruce throughout the year hosting the SiriusXM Blitz weekday afternoons on SiriusXM Channel 88. There's a lot of focus on this Packers defense. They gave Rashawn Gary all that money a couple of years ago. Rashawn Gary's never cracked double digits in sacks. And then there was hope that maybe they'd find somebody to go along with him this offseason. They didn't. Instead, putting all of their eggs in the basket, it's seemingly of Lucas Van Ness. What do you think of the front 4 or so of the Packers going into this season?
Well, you've hit on something that we talked about today at camp, and I think I've talked about a lot on my show, and that's that this is a team, despite a huge investment on defense. There are first-rounders all over the place. You mentioned a couple of them. I don't know that there's a guy that you say, we've got a game plan on offense around. Xavier McKinney was an all-pro last year, but nobody plans to offset a safety. He just was a great addition last year. They don't have that guy. This team needs to play great defense collectively. There's no T.J. Watt. There's no Myles Garrett. They were hoping that could be one of those guys that you mentioned. I don't think that's going to happen here. So it's a solid defense that's not sprinkled with superstars or perennial Pro Bowlers, but it can still be very good. But I think there's no mistaking the fact that they don't have that guy that you plan around when you get ready for Sundays.
Jair Alexander was a big part of this defense as well. He's now in Baltimore after he couldn't stay healthy in Green Bay. The Packers go sign Hobbs from the Raiders. He promptly gets hurt and has to have surgery yesterday and is now going to miss 4 weeks, it looks like. What do you think of that Packers secondary as we sit here today?
Well, Hobbs is obviously a big question mark because that was a big offseason acquisition. He does have arthroscopic surgery over the weekend. They're hopeful that he's available for the start of the season. But as you know, look, it's a long season. If it's not week 1, then early in the season he'll be available. But, that is an area that they have to prove that they can survive without Jair, who, obviously you're not surviving without him because he wasn't there for most of the season, each of the last two. And I know that, Brian Gutekunst, the idea behind it was that expensive investment for a guy that had limited play, but there were other issues as well. I think to some extent it's easy to move on from that guy who may not have been the best in the locker room. But there's no question, you're going to be, young guys taking reps right now in training camp. They need Hobbs to come back. They need him to be healthy, or I'd be a little concerned with that group.
Sirius XM NFL's Bruce Murray joins us. Follow him on Twitter at Bruce Murray NFL. One last one for you. Where do you see the Packers lining up in the NFC right now as we sit here today?
Well, that too, it's interesting because when you're with the team, and you know this because you focus on them every weekend, in a vacuum, it's a really good football team. Their offensive line has guys that have started a lot of games. Josh Jacobs is terrific. It's a deep wide receiver room. Tucker Kraft could be, a tight end that we're talking about as one of the better in the league as he continues to get better. But as I say to John Kuhn today, those other teams in the division and in the NFC have something to say about it. Detroit's really good. Minnesota, even with the J.J. McCarthy experiment, I think is going to be good with that defense. I think Chicago's improving. Philadelphia is good. We know about the teams out west. San Francisco should rebound. The Rams are good. I think they're in that small group of teams that we expect to be one of those final seven, but those other teams are going to have something to say about it. I still think this team has a chance to compete for a division title. I know Detroit right now is the best talent, but it's hard to duplicate what they accomplished last year. But the one thing we need to see them do, and you know this from watching them last year, they beat the Rams when the Rams were banged up. I think they played without their wide receivers. They've got to prove they can go out and beat a Philadelphia or a Detroit or Minnesota, the teams that they struggled when they were in the division. I think they're prepared to do that. I'm a little hesitant to say they're at the top of that division right now, but I still think they're one of the teams that's going to be in the team picture when we're talking about those extra games in January.
Does that division get 3 teams in the playoffs?
I think it does, and listen, I'm not in a big minority. I think people are divided on this one. I think Chicago's going to be a much better team this year, not just because of Ben Johnson, but I think everybody's critical of Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams had a very good second half of the season. He went out and played every game. His numbers got better. I think he's going to be better coached this year. I think he's going to be better protected this year. He got sacked, 68 times, I think is the number, and he showed up every Sunday. I think they're going to win their share of football games. I do think 3 go, but those wins are going to be a little tougher to come by this year.
Bruce, next year when you do this training camp tour again, because I'm sure you're going to do it again next year, you need to give yourself a day off, come down here to the Wisconsin State Fair and check this out, man. It is amazing, especially if you like, unhealthy food and so forth, but it's delicious. This is the place to be, Bruce, I'm telling you.
Listen, you have no idea how appealing that invitation actually is. I love those things. I love a day of terrible food, not terrible food, really good food that's terrible for you.
Yes.
If I had the extra time, I would actually take you up on that. Like I said, I'm on the way to the airport going to Minnesota from here, but if that's an outstanding invitation one day, you may be surprised to find me there.
Yes, we're here. So come on out, hang out. Love to see you out here. Bruce, have safe travels to Minnesota, man. Thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Hey, great to be here anytime.
You betcha. Take care. There he is, Bruce Murray, Sirius XM NFL Radio's Bruce Murray. He was at Packers Camp earlier today to host the Packers episode of Channel's NFL Camp Tour. You can hear that show, which Bruce hosted along with former Packers fullback John Kuhn, on demand on the Sirius XM app. You can also hear Bruce throughout the year hosting the Sirius XM Blitz weekday afternoons on Sirius XM Channel 88. And, of course, he joined us on the Fan Guest Hotline, powered by Gruber Law. One call, that's all. It's interesting to get other people's views, Charlie, and you hear Bruce Murray and his thoughts on this division, his thoughts on the NFC, his thoughts on what really has to happen in order for the Packers to take the next step. And I feel like a lot of people outside of here are very focused on their struggles against good football teams last year. I don't feel like there's a lot of emphasis or discussion on that same topic from local Packer fans here. I don't think locally we take it all that seriously. Oh yeah, we're scared that could happen again. I don't think anybody is really that nervous that they can't beat good football teams this year.
which is a little strange to me. That was something that I personally harped on with this Packers team last season, is that you saw how dominant they could be against the teams that were worse than them, but just how much the teams that were better than them just controlled the pace of the game and how they played. And this is kind of something I saw with the Milwaukee Bucks this past year too, and it was something that they didn't change from the season before. When they weren't controlling the pace of play in a game, it really kind of messed up what they were doing. And I think this Packers team, even though it's a very different situation, the Bucks are a veteran team that I think the pace of play messed them up because they were too slow to keep up with some other team's pace of play if they weren't the ones that set it. With the Packers, I think if another team is able to slow them down or speed them up enough, it kind of messes with some of these young players' mindsets and how they go about attacking any certain drive in a game. So if you can go out and control the games early on, I'm not worried about the teams that are better than them the same way I was last year. But if I start to see a lot of the same patterns that I saw last season, then it is going to become an issue.
The one thing for me, I think going into this year, and we start talking about things that are very, very important, I think the number one thing, and it's going to sound obvious, like, duh, Sparky, like I know that already, but because it's really not talked about, quarterback's got to stay healthy, man. I mean, we were talking about the idea that Nate Hobbs is out for 4 weeks now after having surgery for a partially torn meniscus, and his availability. And John and Franklin was all mad that, they signed a guy that's hurt all the time, coming from the Raiders, and now he's hurt again for the Packers, and you're taking and signing him, and you're replacing Jair Alexander, who was hurt all the time, and that's one thing. But if you look at the Packers quarterback situation, Brett Favre was hurt quite a bit, but always played through it. Never missed games, right? The Iron Man, Brett Favre. So you really didn't have to worry about a backup quarterback situation. Then Aaron Rodgers comes along, definitely hurt more and not being able to play more than, say, Brett Favre. Multiple collarbone injuries, concussions. He had all kinds of issues throughout his time and wasn't nearly as healthy as Brett. Now you get to Jordan Love. Again, last year Jordan Love hurt multiple times, was never really able to kind of show off his legs and run it all because he was banged up and hurt most of the year. To me, the number one thing that has to occur is they need to keep Jordan Love healthy, so his threat of running the football a little bit more, you also have to kind of encourage him to run the football maybe a little bit more this year as well, is there. Because if Jordan Love is dinged up and misses a game here, misses a game there, and now all of a sudden, he's not running as well and he's not as mobile as he was, that type of stuff starts happening, well, then you're not the same football team than you should be if you have a healthy Jordan Love, Charlie.
And then once again, you have to go about resetting the offense, changing the way that you play the game, which is not something you want to do when, again, I'll keep talking about this. We've seen 4 different versions of Jordan Love. I don't really want to see a 5th and a 6th version of Jordan Love this season, because if that's the case, that's 3 straight seasons of not knowing what you have in a quarterback.
Correct. That's absolutely right. And we talked about Malik Willis a little bit yesterday. He didn't look much different to me. I mean, maybe Malik Willis gets into a game and he looks a lot better this year, but he looked good enough to win football games last year. The other thing that's not happening for the most part in training camp, or at least if it's happening, it's not being reported. There's not a lot of stories of Malik Willis using his legs to pick up 10, 15 yards against the defense in training camp practice. Now, I don't know. You tell me, Charlie. Maybe that's something that you don't allow in training camp practice because you want the quarterback getting hit or getting hurt or doing something like that, so it's just strictly passing. You don't want him running around necessarily as much as you would in the regular season. But you'd have to think on some of these plays where Malik Willis, is throwing it away or getting sacked, that in most situations he's out of there and picking up yards, where you're really not seeing that as much in training camp.
Well, and I think one of the bigger knocks on Malik Willis when he was coming out of the draft is that he is an athlete. But the problem is that he's not always the smartest athlete and doesn't always make the best decisions. So I think kind of like a Caleb Williams, where we talked about it all last season, where he just wasn't moving in the pocket when he needed to. He was sitting there holding the ball a little too long. I think that's kind of more what we're seeing with Malik Willis, where he can get out of the pocket, he can run. I think sometimes he just tries to make the pass when he shouldn't try to make a pass.
That is the other part about this when we talk about this Packers team and how you're going to have multiple offenses, one for Jordan Love, one for Malik Willis, and if Jordan Love's in there, you're going to run it one way. If Jordan Love is banged up and hurt and can't move as much, you're going to run it a different way, where you have almost like a chameleon-style offense where it adjusts to whatever you have going on at that quarterback position. I think Matt LaFleur deserves a lot of credit for being able to adjust and adapt so many different times here over 2 years with Jordan Love.
Well, adjust and adapt, but also what we saw last season was we saw him adjust the offense with Malik Willis and then kind of keep a very similar offense with a Jordan Love and just change it a little bit to where there's a few more play action passes involved for a Jordan Love that are a little more aggressive downfield. And then you saw them kind of merge those two. So not only is he out there being able to design for the specific quarterback or the specific players that are on the field, he's doing it while also keeping it semi-similar so that if you do need to make quick changes in a game, it's going to be pretty seamless. That's the sign of a great coach. And I think a lot of people, I know Matt LaFleur has been getting a little bit of heat this offseason just because they haven't taken that next step underneath him. I think it's more so like everybody else on this team, and like I keep saying, it just needs to be consistency. And if he has the same team playing underneath him for a whole season, I think we could see some magic happen.
Magic? What does that mean? Clarify magic, please.
I think we could see a Super Bowl from the Green Bay Packers if they can stay healthy with this team in the NFC.
What?
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
I think Matt LaFleur
is this
is
Charlie
that good of a
Houston? Did
coach.
you fall and hit your head?
I did
You
not.
just said on the radio for everybody to hear, you said the words Super Bowl and the Green Bay Packers together?
I did. I think I'm brainwashed now by you, too.
I'm kind of
I think I just have
stunned.
a susceptible mind at this point. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Hey, speaking of being brainwashed and screwed up by the influence of me, can we talk a little bit about what happened last night in the Brewers game before we get to Charlie's Sounds of the Day?
We can,
if you don't mind. Last night, during that Brewers game, I was sitting on my couch watching the Brewers game, and the Brewers were down 1-0, and up comes Isaac Collins, a couple runners on. And I turned to Kate and I was like, man, right here. Come on, Isaac Collins. One time, right here, man. Make it 3-1. One time, right here. And after I said it, I thought to myself, way to go. He's probably going to get drilled by a pitch or something now, and you just completely jinx the heck out of him like you do every other time you open your mouth about something positive. Isaac Collins, next pitch. Crack. Gone. And I was like, oh, I got to tell Charlie. Like, that probably is the first time in 2025 where I did not actually jinx somebody either into getting hurt, making a horrible decision, or a horrible play. Like, maybe the tide is going to turn here in August for me. Maybe, just maybe, this will turn the tide.
Maybe. Or how does the saying go? A broken clock is right twice a day still? I think that's kind of more what we're looking at here, Sparky. If you just keep constantly saying, you know what, 3-1 right here, 3-1 right here, I mean, obviously somebody's going to eventually hit a three-run home run.
I didn't say it like 5 or 6 times. I said it one time,
I'm just saying,
and
you
the
say
next
for every
pitch he
batter,
hit it.
You just say it for every batter, at least one of those guys is going to hit something for you.
Man, you can't even. You just be positive and be like, Spark,
No,
man,
I
I
can't.
think you got it. I think you've turned the corner. I think now you're going to have some luck going your way here. No. Instead,
You've known
you got
me
to
for
tell
too long
me.
now, Sparky.
It's just ridiculous. I just some love is all I really want. I just want some love. Charlie Houston is over there. See, Sparky Fifer is here. Let me tell you about the latest thing going on at Wendy's, all right? So I will tell you that I actually saw this commercial last night, what we talked about yesterday. The Meal of Misfortune, devised by Wendy Adams, is available now at Wendy's, where you must surrender to your fate. It comes with rest in 10-piece nuggets, small, cursed, crispy fries, and a small Raven's Blood Frosty. And, of course, 2 of 4 mysterious dips of dread to up the torment. In Wednesday's words, it's pure torture and tribute to the suffering that awaits us all. From the dips of dread, and the best part is, you never know what you'll get. Each uniquely insufferable in its own torturous way. It's got to be Wendy's. Watch Wednesday Season 2 only on Netflix. Available for limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's while supplies last. I saw the TV commercial last night, and it is as scary as I imagine it to be when I'm reading it. Like, the sauce is like purple and like dripping down, and yeah, man. Goodness.
I'm going to try it. It looks good. I saw the commercial earlier, too. I was watching the TV in here. I was like, oh, now I see what they're talking about. I like it.
I'm getting the heebie-jeebies just thinking about that commercial. Coming up next, Charlie's Sounds of the Day. His top 3 clips from around the world of sports is straight ahead. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook here at the Wisconsin State Fair outside of the Expo building, looking at the Milk House. Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. Live from the Wisconsin State Fair out here by the Expo Building. Come on out, say hi. My boy Van is here with us. Now, to you, it's like, okay, cool, some dude named Van. This dude is a singer. That's right, ladies. He is a singer. Are you single or are you not single? You're not single? He's looking for girlfriend 2 is what he said. No, I'm just joking. Apparently he's taken. But he'll still sing to you. He's just hanging out with me. He's not doing that. Having a pretzel. He got us some milk from the milk house, some root beer milk. Appreciate that. So Van is out here hanging out. Come out, say hi to Van. It is not Charlie. At Summerfest, when Van was with me, everybody thought he was Charlie. He's definitely not Charlie. He doesn't look anything like Charlie. He is not Charlie. So come hang out with us here. And then 5 o'clock leadoff show powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook with a big old hunk of love. He is single. He is single. Tommy Wirtz out here 5 to 6. That's brought to you by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. 1 hour before every Brewers game, we get you ready for Brewers baseball here on the Fan. Don't forget, stream us on the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Watch us on YouTube as well. Like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. Search The Fan Milwaukee on YouTube. We have shorts, we have videos, and again, live streaming all the local shows. All right, Charlie, it's that time. Let's go.
What sound clips will Chicago Charlie pick today for Sparky? Will Sparky become enraged? Will laughter ensue? It's time for Charlie's Sound of the Day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on The Fan.
All right, here we are. Top 3 sound clips from the day. Charlie Usen, this is your segment. Where are we going first?
All right, so first up, we're going to head over to the Chicago Cubs and Cincinnati Reds game from last night. Something that I think will make you very happy, Sparky, to
I
hear.
saved it, and I forgot to send it to you.
This is something after I saw this, I was like, I don't think I've ever seen that happen in a professional baseball game. Pretty embarrassing by Dansby Swanson.
Grounded to third. Hayes straight up on the run. Safe! Tying run scores. It's 3-all.
Ball on the field is safe at first base. Cincinnati is challenged.
Is he hitting the bag there? When does the ball hit the glove?
I think he hit the ground first, and then he was dragging the right foot over the bag. It's tough to see it from the angle that we had. Let's see here.
He's short of the bag.
He's out.
That ball in the glove before the toe drag on the bag? That's when he contacts the bag.
The runner missed first base.
Yeah.
The call on the field is overturned.
He is out! A huge play by Ke'Bryan Hayes, and the Reds lead 3-2 after 7.
So that was
And
courtesy.
the Cubs fly the L after that game, baby, as the Reds survive and beat the Cubs. That is amazing. I was a professional baseball player, how you don't hit first base with your foot. Like, I tell you stories about our coach. Could you imagine the coach of my kid's travel team if my kid doesn't hit that bag? Oh, my goodness. And it would tie the game up. Now it's the 7th inning. He would have had an absolute conniption.
I'd say some kids might be thrown to the moon off of that, like way off the team for something like that. And that's in junior baseball.
You are out. Hey, you in the stands. You're on the team. Come on. You don't got to pay him. I ain't deal with him anymore. Learn how to tag the bag when you're running to first base. He would have lost his mind had that happened. And now it's a professional baseball player, Dansby Swanson, missing first base, costing the Cubs an opportunity to tie, and then they lose. Cubs playing .500 baseball like you talked about yesterday, now chasing 3 games. Folks, the 18th of August is when this 5-game series is at Wrigley Field for the Brewers and the Cubs. If this Brewers team somehow or another gets to 5 or more up on the Cubs going into that series, this division race could very well be over after that series. If the Brewers just win, 3 games, let's say, it's about done. It's curtains at that point, because if the Brewers are up 5 or more, the Cubs are going to be in a situation where they're going to have to win at least 4 or 5 to stay in this race, Charlie.
Well, and with all the stupid mistakes that they've been making, so this play happened last night. Pete Crow Armstrong misjudges another ball, drops another ball, lose a game that way. It's just over and over again that team keeps making mistakes. If the Brewers keep not making mistakes, this could be pretty over pretty fast.
All right, sound clip number 2.
Second up here, we're going to head over to Good Morning Football on the NFL Network, soon to be on ESPN. This is Kyle Brandt taking issue with internet armchair quarterback.
Hold on. Time out. Stop. I just thought of something. Does that mean Schrager gets to go back on that show? Because if that means Schrager gets to go back on that show, I may watch that show again. I haven't watched that show since Schrager left. But if Schrager's back on there, I'll watch. I can't handle Bear loving Kyle Brandt, man. His fandom is so over the top. I can't handle it.
You're going to be disgusted.
Angry Runs is a fun segment they do. I like Angry Runs, but Brandt drives me nuts. What are we playing?
This segment that he's talking about in here, I think you're going to be a little conflicted about. Because he's discussing Caleb Williams and his interceptions.
This is Kyle Brandt?
This is Kyle Brandt, yes.
Oh, Lord.
I don't mind too much the training camp passing stats getting tweeted and shared on the internet because I think there's a hunger for it. I think fans want it. There's also a bloodlust that goes on for players failing in training camp, for players looking bad, for throwing ugly passes, for throwing pick sixes. Player looks sharp, boring. Let me see the terrible, unsightly interception footage with which I can make fun of that player and tweet jokes. Over the weekend, the Bears had their family night scrimmage at Soldier Field, on Soldier Field. Caleb Williams threw a really ugly interception. There's the fan-captured video with the phone from the stands that makes the internet, and everyone lost their minds. Here's just one of the tweets that came up about Caleb throwing an interception the first week in August. Caleb Williams already in midseason form. Fire. Now, far be it from me to criticize the people at Hater Report. It's not exactly the Associated Press, but I do think that accounts like this, God bless them, drive conversations, create narratives, establish reputations for players. And I would just respond to this type of joke, which was everywhere, Caleb Williams already in midseason form. Are you talking about like last year in the midseason when he went 9 straight games without throwing an interception?
Stop.
9 straight games, every single one of them a loss for the Bears.
I don't want to hear anymore. Just stop. Listen, okay, we know what he does after this, right? He defends Caleb Williams, leave him alone, quit picking on my guy, blah, blah, blah. Can you find me the clip from this same dude when Jordan Love was in his first training camp as a starting quarterback and every little dang thing was being overanalyzed in that training camp? Charlie, you know what I'm talking about. That whole training camp. I don't remember Kyle Brandt going on NFL Network and saying, would you all please leave Jordan Love alone? We no need to overanalyze Jordan Love. There wasn't any of that. In fact, that dude was on the bandwagon as well as everybody else was. Why? Because he was hoping and praying for the demise of the Green Bay Packers, for the demise of Jordan Love. And now he's got his feelings hurt because now reality is setting in that maybe, just maybe, this dude isn't as good as he thought he was. So now he's got to take to the damn TV airwaves and defend Caleb Williams. Man, he is a grown man, Caleb Williams is, Kyle Brandt. He is a grown man. He can defend himself. He knows he sucks. But at some point, he'll get better. He will. It's a new offense, right? Ben Johnson has different demands than the previous coaching staff, which, by the way, is good for Caleb Williams because Ben Johnson's a better coach than when he just got done with. So Caleb Williams will be a better quarterback. There is no reason to go on TV and defend Caleb Williams like he is your son, like you gave birth to this guy. You didn't give birth to him. He's a grown man. Let him be his own self. Let him defend himself. I don't need to hear from you, Kyle Brandt. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think when I was listening to that clip, that was what was going through my mind too, and I'm a Bears fan. And he pointed it out afterwards. He quote tweeted this video and said that Caleb Williams has really only had 5 interceptions throughout camp from the ones that he's counted throughout all the camp practices, and one of them was at the end of like a 2-minute drill where they're doing deep yardage, so he's just chucking a ball downfield basically.
But the other thing you also have that we talked about yesterday is holding the ball forever in a day. You know, holding the ball for 5.5 seconds, not getting rid of the ball, and then he's sacked. That's happening in practice too. That also is something else that he has to work on. But again, folks, I'm telling you, and I'm not saying this for any other reason than what I believe. He's not going to suck. He's just not. He's too talented to be a bad quarterback. Now, how good of a quarterback is he going to be? I don't know. Maybe he'll be a Pro Bowl quarterback. Maybe he'll be the best quarterback in the division before it's all said and done. I don't know. But I do know he's not going to be horrible, right? So, but what drives me nuts is Kyle Brandt didn't have this same passion and same love to defend Jordan Love, who he was hoping sucked. Instead, he was piling on. Now it's his guy. Now we got to defend him. That is why I don't watch that show. That right there is the reason. All right, go ahead.
All right, and last up here, we're going to hear from Chris Collinsworth and Peyton Manning, courtesy of PFF, discussing how Pro Football Focus has changed the way people analyze the game.
Well, what PFF done is totally changed the game.
I immediately flash back to that call on going for it on 4th and 2, because Belichick had guys from Harvard and MIT and Stanford in the room, true mathematicians, and I was like, oh my gosh, he plays this thing off like it's just a gut feel all the time. He's ahead of the curve. He's doing the math. And we're seeing now the game of football, and I'm going to give my guys at PFF a little credit. They've sort of been at the forefront of that. But how have you seen the game change in that way for the better?
Well, what PFF done is totally changed the game, because when I was playing quarterback, I wanted as much information as I could get. I mean, just give me everything. And the Colts, they were giving me everything, but there just wasn't that much to give. There wasn't that much information on each player. I mean, it was a little more, this is where the player went to college, this was his 40 time at the combine. I'm like, how's that going to help me beat the Jets this week? But now, what PFF is doing, I mean, I've talked to quarterback, I talked to Mahomes, I talked to Josh Allen, and the information that they're getting because of y'all going into a game, the level of preparation for them is off the charts. And that, but like you said, what coaches now, the information they can gather. I mean, like you said, Belichick made that decision on 4th and 2. He was using information, but I think he was going off a little bit of instinct. It was the right call. And now people are doing it because of the information y'all provide, and it's making the game better.
Can you Google something for me?
Sure.
Can you Google if Peyton Manning has stock in Pro Football Focus, or if he's got part ownership in Pro Football Focus? Because what we do know is Chris Collinsworth definitely is a guy that has thrown a lot of money at Pro Football Focus, is a big believer in it. You've got NFL teams obviously using it, like him and Manning discussed. There are a lot of fans and players that don't buy into Pro Football Focus at all. Now, what I will tell you is Pro Football Focus isn't necessarily all hard-based facts. A lot of what Pro Football Focus is based on opinions of people watching games and how they analyze a play and how they analyze the guy was in the right position, if the guy got beat or whatever. It's opinion-based. A lot of it is opinion-based watching games. It's not as far as hard numbers. Now, the hard numbers can be in percentages of chances of making a play in a situation, or what to run in situation, when to go for it in a different situation. That's data, yes. But as far as like grading offensive linemen and grading running backs and wide receivers, man, that's opinions of a lot of different people that all go into making that. And that's when I remember when we used to have David Bakhtiari on, he didn't want to hear anything about it. Like, had no interest. Don't talk to me about Pro Football Focus. He wasn't interested in hearing about Pro Football Focus at all. So I get down with what Manning is saying as far as it's making everybody else's jobs easier and more difficult, I guess, at the same time, right? It's making it easier to prepare, but it's making it harder for you to surprise a team and to beat a team when they know so many of your tendencies before they even get to that point, Charlie.
Does not seem like Peyton Manning has any stock or anything in PFF. Omaha Productions has nothing to do with PFF, so this seems like it is his true opinion. Now, it was on Chris Collinsworth PFF show, so I think that changes it a little bit.
Yeah, he's not going to go on there and slam the PFF on the PFF show itself.
No, but I also don't think he's going to go onto that show and lie about how much he loves PFF that much either. I think he probably does use it. Yep. I think for the fans, it's an extremely useful tool. I love using it, so I would assume that these players that do actually need to know these statistics, or it is helpful to know these statistics, should probably be on there and using it.
Yeah, and the other part about this is we talk about advanced analytics and so forth and how it's used in baseball. They use it in basketball. Because remember, that was part of the reason Jason Kidd got fired, because Jason Kidd didn't want to hear about some stupid advanced analytics. He wanted to do it his way. I played basketball my whole life. Some nerds aren't going to tell me how to run my basketball team, right? That's pretty much what happened. That, and he was hurting their feelings, yelling at him too much. That was the other thing we heard, which still makes me laugh to this day. But so you have that. Then you have the advanced analytics now creeping themselves into the National Football League as well. And you have all these different websites that are hopping on board trying to do this. And I promise you, there are going to be guys getting hired from different websites and being put into NFL front offices, into personnel evaluation, into scouting, and so forth. And most of these guys may never even have played the game of football, may never have played baseball, may never have played basketball, but they are, math nerds or whatever the case may be that have figured out a way to get themselves involved in professional sports, Charlie.
And it's a really cool way of getting yourself involved, a really kind of innovative way of getting yourself involved. And I think if one of these guys or a multitude of these people that are in these positions at these statistic companies do get jobs in NFL or MLB front offices, I think some of them will do a good job. I don't know if all of them will, because I think there is something to actually have playing the game or being around the game in a one-to-one sense. But at the same time, these guys know what they're doing and know what they're talking about. I think they could probably run a team and help you run a team at least.
He is Charlie Using, Steve Sparky Fifer with you along out here at the Wisconsin State Fair, right by the Expo building where you walk in, right across from the Milk House. Coming up on the other side, we'll talk with Michael Nania, co-owner of JetsXFactor.com. The Packers and Jets get ready to play coming up this week in their first preseason game. Earlier today, Matt LaFleur replayed it for you, talking about the fact of everybody's got to be ready to play. I know what I'm doing, but essentially it sounds like, not sure if I believe him, he's not going to tell anybody what's going on and who's going to play and so forth. You would have to think the Jets are so bad that their starters probably are going to play some in this game coming up on Saturday. We'll talk to Michael Nania all about that. Straight ahead, it's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Speaking of the Potawatomi Sportsbook, have your fantasy football draft there. Right there in the sportsbook, 6,500 square feet, 2 levels. That second level is where you can have it. You have your own private elevator, so not anybody can just go up there. Only people that are in the league. They're going to put out a smorgasbord of food. Each member that's doing a draft, up to 14 teams, will get 3 drinks per person. How about that? There's a podium to announce your picks at. There's a draft board. There's stickers. All of that. And you can have your fantasy football draft right there at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. There is not a cooler place in Wisconsin to brag to everybody you know of where you're having your fantasy football draft other than the Potawatomi Sportsbook. And you can bet on the games going on while you're there at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, and maybe you make back your earnings or make back your money that you're putting towards the fantasy draft right there before you even leave by betting on games at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. For more information, go to Potawatomi.com/sportsbook. Potawatomi.com/sportsbook.